Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 15th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I am here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 25 live feeds. It was the dreaded day 44 in the house, and it lived up to its reputation, day 44. As we had a bit of a blow up, bit of a house blow up, not the whole house, but a decent amount of it, leading into an eviction that flipped the house, then a wall comp that led to quite the result with maybe another flipped house, and now new plans for the week, new people scrambling, new relationships broken and made, and all kinds of interesting stuff to talk about. And with me to talk about it here today is Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
Great. I asked for this. I said, finally, if there's going to be something, let it happen during the day so that we have something to talk about on these live feed updates on Friday. Because this year, the Friday live feed updates have kind of been the low point. There's not a lot to talk about. So if I look tired, it's because I brought this on myself. I asked for it. So we are here. I'm excited. We're not even halfway through the season. And those day 44s will get you. So future seasons, that's the day I'm going to circle on my calendar.
It's so weird to me because we talk about it almost every week, how winning HOH is an opportunity to gather information, to change things to your benefit. And the culture in this house has been, I win HOH, let's go to bed. I've got a plan. I'll talk to people tomorrow, but it won't change my plan. I won't even really ask many questions, which is wild because normally that would happen because they've already figured out the week like 2 weeks ago because they've plotted ahead. But this house plots like 2 days behind. Like they are not even close to planning ahead. And yet, we're still getting them like waking up like, I know what I'm going to do. You don't even know what you're going to do. You're going to change your mind 15 times before you actually decide. How are you not doing more? But I digress.
Yeah, I have to imagine, we always talk about how the house culture gets defined season to season. That first week HOH, Taran, the HOH had 2 things given to them, and that was it. They didn't have to think beyond that. I feel like a lot of people that also, it's like 3 people have won HOH that are in this house. So we don't know what everyone's style is going to be, but they've been like, oh, that's how you do it? Okay, I'm just going to do it that way. There's more to it. There's more finesse, but they're not using it. But also, I guess it makes it kind of entertaining because there's more game to be played throughout the week.
What's wild is that Riley actually did the most amount of information gathering and trying to figure out who she wanted to work with, and yet had the least amount of power. All right, so let's talk about day 44. Of course, yesterday, if you watched or listened to the update, you would have heard the whole story about how we got to where we did with the flip being orchestrated, kicked off. A bunch of people were involved in a bunch of different ways. But ultimately, the point is that Corey, Matt, Jag, America, Bowie, and Mimi got together to decide that the 6 of them were going to vote out Izzy. Now, through the night, Suri and Izzy were able to kind of suss out that something was wrong. And by the morning, Suri was pretty convinced that the votes were not there. And so I don't know exactly what prompted this, but in the morning, Jared goes to Matt and he says, hey, what's up? Jag told me last night that you guys are going to vote out Izzy. And Matt was like, excuse me? He said, what? Now, it's important to remember that we talked about this yesterday. All night long, Jag had been freaking out about, what do we tell them? When do we tell them? Should we tell them ahead of time? I want to tell them. Should we tell them? I think I should tell them. And then everyone had to be like, no, dude, chill. we don't want you to tell them, don't say anything, please don't say anything. And so when Jared comes up to Matt and says, so Jag told me, Matt was like, did he now? So he told you that we were going to vote out Izzy? And Jag was like, yeah, he did. And Matt's like, I mean, we did have the conversation. Yeah, yep, okay. And Jared's like, yeah, that's what I thought. That's yep. And it became kind of clear that like even though Matt believed that Jag had ratted them out, it was clear that Jag hadn't ratted the whole thing out, and so Matt didn't blow anything up, too big here. But Jared's gonna grab Corey and tell Corey as well. Jag told me that the vote is flipping, or that him and Matt are going to flip the vote. And Corey and Matt both say, well, he's lying. We're not flipping the vote. I don't know what he's doing, but we're not doing it. We've been trying to shut him down. He's a wild card. So Jared leaves and he's like, Sari, they're not flipping the vote. You got nothing to worry about. I don't know why you're so worried. They're fine. And Cerise's like, are you sure? And he's like, yes, it's fine. Meanwhile, Matt and Corey are freaking out. Matt is pissed. Jag us. Oh my God, I can't believe him. And Corey's like, he's such a bad player. What is he doing? Meanwhile, Jag is literally asleep downstairs.
This is the Jag storyline, honestly, is that he does too much when he doesn't need to. That way, when he does nothing, he's blamed for doing too much. And really, this was wild to see. And honestly, I'm going to give him his props. Not enough people lie boldly in the house like this and stand behind it to get information. And Jared did it, and he did it really well.
Yeah, so because obviously a lot of people have been like, is this a good move? Is this a bad move by Jared? Because as we'll talk about, it's a very easily blown up move.
Yes.
Like it's not like he's not going to, obviously he's going to get caught. Just because you trick people for a couple of hours doesn't mean that like you've necessarily done anything.
Mm-hmm.
My perspective on this is that this is the kind of thing that Jared has been doing all season. He has been making up lies that are easily trackable, that Corey has been keeping track of, that other people have been keeping track of. People have been slowly building up this ammunition against Jared because they've been catching him in lies like this that were completely unnecessary for him at the time because he was at the top of the power structure. Keep it simple. Don't be causing all this chaos for no reason. When you have the veto that week and you're making people feel scared for no reason that they're going to go up on the block, just because you want them to scramble, that's not good because you're in a position where you don't want things to change. However, Jared's style of gameplay, this is no different. I see some people were like, wow, Jared all of a sudden playing well. No, he's playing the same. He's just in a different position now. He is on the outs now. He is the main house target for most of the people that he's talking to. And with nothing to lose, this style of gameplay all of a sudden becomes a lot better. Very similar to Cam, who also was blowing things up the day before because he also had nothing to lose. And blowing things up worked out for him because things changed for the better for him. So I think this is a good move by Jared. Just not necessarily because like he's changed his game or anything, but because the circumstances have aligned to suit the style of game that he would like to play, is my perspective.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the right perspective to look at it. I think also picking the right mark in Jag really helps in this instance. And I do think that there's not a lot of long-term thinking with these things. I think it's very short-term gratification of I want to get this narrative out, or I want to figure this out. I'm going to throw this in there and see what happens. And sometimes it comes out great, sometimes it comes out not great, but also it will always inevitably get caught out, especially in a house where they have nothing else to do but to put the information out, decipher, analyze, put the information back in. So this was good, though. I think because of his position, this was good. And I think for us, this was entertaining.
Yes. Now, I say all of that to then quickly later say that when it is exposed, extremely bad.
Right. It's good until it's bad.
We'll get there. So Corey and Matt are pissed at Jag. They're saying Jag's trying to cover himself here. He's panicking. He's such a bad player. We're so frustrated. We can't trust Jag. Should we talk to Jag? I don't know. He'll just run it back to Jared, clearly. So what do we do? Should we tell Jared at this point? Should we just tell him? He believed us that the vote isn't flipping, but should we just tell him so that we are also ahead of this, so that Jag doesn't have this one up on us? And we can even tell him about how Jag was the one that was pushing it in the first place, so that Jag doesn't get this credit with him. They discussed that they maybe should do that. That's maybe the play for them. But they shouldn't do it too early because they don't want to give Jared too much time to start campaigning and all of that stuff. And so they decide, all right, let's just lock in our votes. The flip is going to stay flipped. That is a non-negotiable. We need to make sure that Bowie's still in, that Mimi's still in, but let's reconvene and discuss whether we should tell Jared about the flip. And so Matt goes and talks to Bowie, makes sure she's still down. Corey grabs America, lets her know what's happening, and he discusses, should we tell Jared? At first, she's kind of not into it, but then I think she gives kind of an incorrect read here, which is that Jared will respect it if you tell him ahead of time, which no, that's not Jared. But they kind of decide that's what they want to do. So they end up telling Bowie about Jag ratting the thing out. Bowie's kind of annoyed, but it's all fine. There's a lockdown. When feeds come back from the lockdown, Matt is telling Felicia about how she is actually staying. Now, Felicia all morning has been like, they're voting me out, these cowards. Like, she was feeling disappointed in the people that she thought she could count on, that they're not really fighting for her. And so when Matt comes and tells her, no, you've got the votes, she's like, oh, great. So I've got you, Jared, Suri, Mimi. He's like, the votes are very different than you might think. We have a lot to talk about later. And she goes, okay, runs to Jared and says, Matt's telling me I have the votes, but they're not the ones I think. What's going on, Jared? And Jared's like, I don't know. Let me go ask Matt. And so Jared pulls Matt into the have-not room. He's like, what's going on, Matt? Why are you telling Felicia that she has the votes? And at this point, Matt's like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And he tells Jared, we're flipping the votes. And here's why. Corey told us this information. They know about the 7 deadly sins. We got this like for real alliance, so on and so forth. All of the stuff that we talked about yesterday. And Jared is like, let me go grab Corey, because if Corey's a part of this, let me go grab him. He grabs Corey, and an argument ensues for the following hour and 40 minutes.
What a glorious argument it was. This was must-see television, folks. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but it was the snowball effect, Karen, because feeds do go down about an hour and a half. And the fact that they came on right as Matt was talking to Felicia, and we got to watch that chain of events of Matt and Felicia, Jared and Felicia, Jared and Matt, Corey, it was great. It was so good.
Yeah. So I'm going to condense the argument down. I'm not going to make you guys listen to like...
You're not going to reenact the whole thing, Taran?
Rambling here.
I thought I had a front row seat to this. Come on now.
Listen, I don't have the energy for that, all right?
That is fair. Proceed.
Here's the argument. It starts with the survivor secret. Corey is saying that this is the main thing that Corey has on Jared to explain why Jared has like turned him against Jared, essentially. And he talks about how Cam told him that Jared essentially told him about the survivor secret. Now, Jared, throughout this argument, I mean, he's terrible. He's very bad. He talks in circles. He just flat out lies, and then when he's called on it, in a very like indefensible way, he will then backtrack and admit the lie. And he will try to like go semantics or like be like, no, you're the liar. So like when Corey says, you told Cam about my survivor secret, he says, no, I didn't, even though Cam knows he did. So Cam will obviously be able to corroborate that information. He's no, I didn't. America must have. And he's like, yeah, that's what you were trying to sell to me, but obviously she didn't. And Corey goes into, America knew for 3 weeks. I told you a week and a half later, and then immediately it got out. Obviously, this was you. And Jared is like, excuse me? You didn't tell me a week and a half ago. He's like, what do you mean? Did I tell you 2 weeks ago? Like, what are you do you want me to in my Google Calendar? Like, what are you saying? And he's and Jared's like, well, clearly you lied to me because you told me that you told her at the same time you told me. So you're a liar. And Corey's like, yes, I lied about that. And you told Cameron about my secret. And he's like, no, I didn't. I did not tell him. I did not tell him that your brother was on Survivor. And Corey's like you told him that I had a secret though. And you tried to make it seem like America spilled the secret. And he's like, I did not tell him your secret. Okay, you didn't say what the secret was, but you told him that I had a secret. Did he say to you that your brother was on Survivor? No, he didn't, because you didn't tell him the details of the secret. You just told him that I had the secret. And that's the tenor of the argument here. This is what the kind of argument that is going to go back and forth with each one of these points. That it's just going around in circles. And Jared does the very annoying thing that people do in arguments, which is the people around the argument who are spectating mostly. He is going to often point to them and be like, Pooya, did I or did I not talk about Corey yesterday? Pooya? Pooya.
I mean, I think you did.
Okay,
anyway,
see,
yeah,
yep.
see,
Pooya agrees with me. Pooya agrees with me. That's what I thought. That's Corey, you're a liar.
And honestly, it was very frustrating at times watching the way Jared operates. Because first of all, he also did this thing that happens in arguments that is very, very irritating, where he was talking very loud, at times a little bit more pointed, finger pointing, a louder voice, on the brink of standing up, argumentative. And then when Corey would turn that on a little bit, he's like, Corey, I stopped my yelling. I lowered my tone. You need to now lower your tone. And Corey's like, you were yelling for 40 minutes. I get to say some things back. So that was also another part of it. And then he did this other thing that I noticed quite a bit, Taran, where he's arguing with Corey one-on-one. But then it's almost like he would break the fourth wall and not so much ask the other two a question, the other two being, of course, Bowie, Jane, and Matt. But he'd be like, and you see, in this instance, I'm saying this, but he's quick to bring this up, but then I'm actually saying this thing. So it's funny to me that he's not backing this thing up that he should be backing up. And then he'd go back into the conversation, a little Deadpool-y.
Yes. Yes. I mean, basically every trope of like a bad argumenter person, argumentator, debater, he has it. To the point where later when Suri comes in, he's talking over his own mother, who is doing a much better job than him.
Huge help for him that he was not taking at times.
So, and when he goes to other people as well, most of the time when he's at first they're doing the thing that Pooya did, which is, okay, yeah, you talked about Corey, and then talking over them before they can properly explain. But then eventually they got kind of sick of that. And every time he would go to Bowie or go to later Jag or even Matt sometimes, they'd be like, I don't know how this is relevant, Jared. Like, why are you asking me this? Like, they didn't even succumb to it. So they go back and forth about the secret. And Bowie eventually does say, like, I don't care about the secret, Jared. And so then they get into more of the meat of it, the for real alliance, that you have been double dipping, triple dipping, quadruple dipping. You're in so many different alliances, Jared. You had one with them, the 7 deadly sins that you told me about, and you had one with me, the for real alliance. And Jared says, the what alliance? And Corey's like, are you for real right now? Are you serious? This is how you're playing this? You're gonna deny that it exists? There are 7 people in it that can confirm it exists. And he's like, what are you? Okay. The for real. Oh yeah. I mean, but it's a fake alliance. But it's a fake. He immediately realizes he can't deny it after trying to. Then says, no, well, the reason I was denying it is because it was a fake alliance. And Corey's like, well, what qualifies a fake alliance? Like, if I know about the 7 deadly sins and they don't know about me, what's the fake alliance? He's like, well, they didn't know about you because it was just so fake that it didn't even register. We didn't even have any meetings. We're like, who cares if we had any meetings? Like, what do you mean? It's like, I forgot it even existed, really, because it was so fake that it was just to placate America. And of course, like, okay, but America believes it's real in the same way that Jag and them believe that 7 deadly sins is real. And they go back and forth about that for a while.
And then can you remind me what the catalyst was to then bring, so one tactic that we haven't discussed yet that Jared would do is, because obviously, like you said, Cam can corroborate that the Survivor secret thing came from Jared. So what does Jared do? He keeps threatening to bring in people who can corroborate, but people who he believes that Corey wouldn't want there. Specifically, Izzy. He keeps saying, I could bring Izzy in right now and she'll fact check everything over here for us, but I know you don't want that to happen. That's not good for your game, so you're not going to agree to that. And I felt like that was a good argument to make for a little bit. But then, Taran, at what point, what was the catalyst where they said they're going to bring Jag into it? Because I thought that was an interesting choice.
Corey wanted to bring Jag in because he knew that there was conflict between Jared. And he talks about this later. He says the thing that saved him was bringing Jag in. Because he knew there was conflict between Jag and Jared, and that would be a good thing to explore. I think the reason he didn't want Izzy in there is just because, like, I mean, A, Izzy has way more dirt on Corey than Jared does, and B, like, I think he felt bad. I don't think he wants to get into an argument with Izzy before he's about to vote her out.
Her at the house. Yeah,
and he doesn't have as many. He has grievances against Jared. He doesn't really have as many against Izzy, and so I think it would turn into something else if she was there. But yeah, his reluctance to do so is definitely beneficial for Jared to press on in this moment. But it's not even close to enough here. They are going to get Jag, but they don't talk about the Jag lie quite yet. Cirie also just kind of like wanders into the room and sits down. And Jared starts accusing Corey of playing the middle, and how, like, Corey, you've been playing the middle all game. You've been like just coasting along, throwing competitions. And Corey's like, how am I the one playing the middle? You have alliances with every single person in this house. You have one with them. You have one with me. You had the professors. You have a bunch of different alliances that you are in the middle of. You are the one playing the middle. You have created these alliances to rope in the other people and then pit them against each other. You are the one in the middle. And Jared's like, I didn't create any alliances. I wasn't even there when 7 Deadly Sins was named. How could I have created that alliance? How could I have roped in these people when I wasn't even there? Matt, was I there when it was named? That's like, no, but why does that matter?
Yeah, like, he really thought that was a good thread to pull at, which obviously wasn't. Also, then he decided to throw it back on Corey by bringing up, yep, you guessed it, the I forget the name of it now, Taran. The first alliance that was made in the house. What was it called?
Family style. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he brings up family style.
Oh, and you're one to talk. You were in 2 alliances. He's like, what are you talking about? Family style. It's like, yeah, I was in that alliance. So were you.
5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago.
We were both in that alliance. So, they bring up Family Style. Listen, the amount of Family Style, I think, is the most talked about alliance of the whole game. More than the Professors, more than Seven Deadly Sins. Family Style's name has been dropped, I think, the most, despite being like a 1 week alliance. Um, so they eventually get around to Corey going to Jag and saying, Jag, Jared told us that you told him that we were flipping, that you and Matt were going to vote Izzy out. And Jag says, what? No, I didn't. And Jared says, what? No, I didn't. I didn't say that. And Corey's like, are you serious? What do you mean? You literally were talking to us earlier and explaining in detail about how Jag told you that the vote was flipping and that he was flipping his vote and listed all of the Cam reasons as to why. And you had told Matt about this. And Jared points at Matt. He says, no, you must have misunderstood me. And if you watch it back, Matt has a visible reaction to this. And he is going to talk about it later. Matt does not appreciate this. Matt knows and understood what Jared was telling him and does not like that. He later describes it as, if I can, hold on, let me scroll down to the quote here. That he says that he took advantage of me because I have a disability, he said. That he's trying to act like, because it's easy for me to not hear things, that it would be easy for me to misunderstand, that he can try and lie and say I misunderstood him. And so in this moment, even if Jared had been making any progress, which he wasn't, he has seemingly lost Matt for good, for at least a good period of time, because Matt is very, very upset and hurt by Jared for the rest of the day. Even after the HOH competition, Matt wants nothing to do with Jared.
No, absolutely not. And it's not hard to see why. I feel like in this moment, Corey also visibly went to immediately put the kibosh on that, which I feel like Corey's done a phenomenal job of doing throughout the season. But yeah, no, this was very much he got caught in a lie. He panicked. He had no idea what else to say but that. Now, was his heart full in it where he was like, I'm going to be malicious on this? I don't know. And I'm not going to say what they're yes or no, because again, it wasn't my actions. But in that moment, there's no other way to see it. And there's no other way for Matt to feel. And his feelings are absolutely validated and valid, not validated, valid.
From my perspective, the way that I've heard Jared talk about Matt, and how he can be slow to understand things, and how he's had conversations with Suri about them being mother and son in front of Matt because he feels they're whispering low enough. It doesn't surprise me that this is something that he would have said, especially in the heat of the moment. That is my perspective, at least.
Yeah.
So Jared very clearly again gets caught in another lie. They then go on to talk about Jag being the target last week. Corey talks about how he was trying to prevent Jag from going up on the block. Jag thought he was a pawn, but he was actually the target, and the vote only flipped back to red because they thought he was going to get back to Cam, back with Cam. And at this point, Suri is able to get some points in, and she says, well, Corey, we were lying to you. Jag was never the target. And this feels believable enough to Jag that he's going to ask about it later, that he still believes he might not have been the target last week. So Suri actually does something here, unlike her son. But Matt does back up Corey and say Corey was in there trying to prevent Jag from going up on the block because Matt had been there, which at the time was like, what are you doing in front of Matt? But now actually turns out it's a good thing because he can corroborate the story. And so this continues, but the feeds cut for the day until the eviction while it's still happening. It's Corey recognizes and he tells America later that he could not have left that room. That if he had left that room, he feels the vote could have flipped back. And so he had to just stay there and just eat up the time and keep arguing back and forth until the last possible moment, so that they had no chance to talk to Matt or Jag alone and potentially flip the vote back.
Yeah, I think ultimately in this apartment meeting, because there were 6 people in this room, half of the house, we could have had another 6, had a full house meeting. We didn't. It's fine. We move. I feel like both of them had moments where they looked bad. I think Corey was not just like, oh, there wasn't like a clear winner, a clear loser. I don't think, especially when you're in an argument with 1v1 and there's 4 people watching, the 4 people watching are the winners because they get to get all the information out while you 2 have to air out your laundry. That being said, I feel like Jared definitely sank more relationships in this. And I think a lot of the people leaving that room and then giving that information around ultimately have put Jared in a poorer position than, say, Corey, although Corey not without some of his own problems coming up with this as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was saying at the time. I think the fact that Corey let it get here in the first place was an error on his part. He had everything to lose and very little to gain, whereas Jared had very little to lose and a lot to gain from this. And it was never a good idea to tell Jared ahead of time, in my opinion. This is just like there's very little that Corey gets out of this, even if he performs perfectly. That said, even though Jared had very little to lose, he lost all of it.
Yeah.
The people in this meeting hate him after this meeting. He somehow got into an even worse position than he was in before. And they very much do believe Corey and feel like Corey did very well in this argument. And they trust Corey. And like, if there is a winner, it very clearly at this point, given the results, especially given who is HOH right now, very clearly Corey came out way better than Jared in this, despite coming in a spot where he shouldn't have even been there. It's it's not hard to see why. I mean, because I think so. People were talking about this when I was watching it on Twitch. They were saying in the chat, like, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter who makes the best points all the time. It matters who's loudest or who feels like who comes off the weakest." And like maybe that's true in real life to some degree with politics or whatever. I don't know. I don't care. In Big Brother, that's not really how it works. The person who comes off as the weakest, or the person who gets flustered or stutters or whatever, they actually usually don't lose the argument in Big Brother. Think back to like Nicole and BB21 when she was very clearly the one outmatched in these arguments and just like barely held her own until they could get her in one-on-one conversations where she started to hold her own a little bit. But the only reason they even did that was because they were like, even though she could barely speak, we believe her. And it's very much the case here as well, where they very much believed Corey and did not believe a thing that Jared was saying, essentially. And so just something to keep in mind for these kinds of arguments, because arguments can be effective strategy in the game, especially if you're in a position like Jared's. But just trying to filibuster and make the other person be on the back foot and stammer a bit might feel like you're winning in the moment, but very rarely actually does anything in Big Brother.
Yeah, I mean, let's compare when Suri walks into the room. Once Suri was in the room with all this, she kind of brought this calmed energy to the room that just wasn't there for the first 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. And when Corey's bringing up some of his arguments, he is also now referring to Suri in the room and saying, you, like both of you are in multiple alliances, so you're in a really good spot. So you're in the middle. No one is leaving that room thinking Suri needs to go. Like Suri, that calm energy helps her. And I think Suri also did a good job, by the way, to be like, just so we're clear, you're not saying me, you're saying this isn't, I'm not in the car, I'm just a bystander. So I think she did a good job there. But that's the comparison where they're both in the same boat, but only one person in that boat's being looked at. And I don't think that's a good sign.
Mm-hmm. So feed's cut. We come to the vote. And by the time the vote goes down, it's 8-1. It certainly seems like Cirie was telling Jared, don't vote for Izzy to stay. It was just Cirie's vote. At some point, apparently America talked to Blue and let her know where the vote was going. And that's why Blue went into the diary room and said, I happily vote to evict Izzy, even though I was on the wrong side of this vote like 2 hours ago. Now, there's a lot more to talk about with Blue, but we then get to the wall comp where, you know what? Can we even call it a wall comp at this point?
I think we could call it the shoot and goo and air comp at this point.
It's not really an endurance comp anymore. In the same way that like slip and slide is not an endurance comp anymore. You know, or at least it has been diminished in recent years. That there's plenty to talk about here, but it's definitely become more of a strength-based comp than an endurance comp because it's so short at this point that there's no time for you to run out of endurance. It's more about your just raw strength to hold yourself up on the wall, depending on basically your height. Because this was the biggest thing talked about after the fact. When we were talking on the podcast, I mentioned that you know, America and Mimi both were at like an awkward angle where the higher handle had them up like this, and obviously this is a completely impossible position to have your shoulders and arms in if you're watching the video when you're leaning forward. So, because everyone, you have to go like this, you know, you're just engaging different things. But the lower handles were too low for them. And you could see as America was falling, her back was like hunching over because she was trying to get her arms low enough to be able to grab. Jag also talked about this, how like he couldn't even come close to reaching the lower handles, but the higher handles weren't right. And so he like would try to spread out his legs to get lower, and that was so much worse. And he almost fell off right away. And so just really you had to be the right height for this. This is the case for like I think a lot of the wall comps in recent years. There are other strategies like the one Taylor used last season to keep, you know, your handles dry and stuff like that, to keep yourself from slipping, which are great strategies, which Big Brother said, those strategies. We don't like those strategies because we're going to just drench them in water and constantly throw goop at them so they can't possibly have dry handles. And so I think another part of this is that when you have those slippery handles, you end up over gripping and then your grip runs out. That's what happened to Matt. And then also, just point of advice for future players, choose a spot on the end of the
Take the
wall
corner.
because Jared very much basically had a free handle that wasn't getting gooped, which is not riggery. It just is the luck of the comp. It's the same way like in Direfest when Terrence won the veto because he was in a spot where the wind wasn't blowing on him. Like this stuff happens. You sometimes just get a much better position. And you know, now people should know in the future, choose a spot on the end.
Yeah, we call this the lasagna strat, where you go for the corner. Always go for the corner piece, and here go for the corner. And I love that Claire mentioned this on Twitter. I saw this last night. They don't tell you where to stand. You get to pick which spot. So go for the corner. There's two of them. Good luck. Because yeah, Jared kind of looked like he got the nicer setup, the nicer deal.
So ultimately, what we came down with was that a lot of people that, you know, people thought would do well did not. America was out very quickly.
Third out, yeah.
Mimi went out pretty quickly. Corey comes down. Jag goes down. And ultimately, it comes down to Bowie, Blue, and Jared. And then Blue drops. Bowie immediately drops after Blue, and Jared then falls off, having won the HOH, and all three of them looked like they were slipping. Like they were all three like on the verge of coming off the wall. So in fact, Blue was the one that looked the least slippy, but she was the one that came off first. But Jared is in fact our HOH winner. So there we go.
Yeah, we really went from almost breaking the record for the longest comp in Big Brother history to you're done in 45 minutes. Get out. It's over.
We broke a record in the other direction. It was the shortest
Yeah.
wall comp in Big Brother history.
Oh, there we go. We got both right, almost both records. They would have been so happy to have both on one. It was fascinating, Taran. Watching it live, every single person, myself or the chat, were saying this person looks solid right now. They would fall immediately next. And then also, it was the change in meta because when they were getting drenched in the water, I noticed all of them kind of using the water to wash the goo off of the handles and stuff. And I kept thinking, why are you making it wet? This makes no sense to me. I feel like you're making a huge mistake, and that ended up helping a lot of them. So what do I know about wall comps at this point? They're changing it on us. Who knows?
Yeah. So here it is. For the second week in a row, the house target wins the HOH. But also, not just the second week in a row, nobody left in the game has won a competition other than Jared and Cam since Jag won the veto on Felicia's HOH.
What a statistic.
Yep.
Let that simmer for a second.
Been a while. Jared and Cam having both won now 3 comps, basically trading back and forth at this point. And we have now played 13 competitions, and 11 of them have been won by men. Felicia still being the last time a woman won competition. So here we are. Jared is the new HOH, and this is huge because this is an opportunity to once again flip the house back over. I mean, Jared performed very poorly in the confrontation, but now he has power. Now people need to suck up to him. They need to be throwing each other under the bus and wrecking what they've just built, and he gets to reign over that chaos if he plays his cards right. And so what will Jared do with the HOH is the next question. And we will find that out fairly shortly.
Yeah, the once the feeds went down, there wasn't a lot of because I genuinely thought, okay, we might not get it back till after the West Coast airing. That didn't happen, which I was happy about. But very quickly you start hearing stuff, and low key, and I'm not gonna lie to you, Taran, I've been scarred from last week when we heard one thing and it was a whole other thing. So for the first little bit of me hearing stuff, I thought, I can't buy this. I don't know if this is true, but the picture becomes a lot more clear because, again, there was not a lot of conversation happening or plans happening from Jared's side for tonight.
Yes. So it's time for stuff to get a little weird because when we come back to the house, Blue is like sobbing to Jag. Like blubbering sobbing, like can barely get through a sentence sobbing. And then also like gets more sobbing when America comes in, which was weird.
Again, because of last Thursday, I was like, I don't know if I can buy this. I don't know if this is I'm performing for the Oscars again or not. And then specifically what tipped me off, Taran, was when America walked in and it intensified. I was like, is this for show or not? I don't know, Blue.
It felt like Jag noticed too. I mean, anyone would have noticed because she was talking to Jag like, oh, Jag, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And then America came in briefly and she was like, America. And then America left again because she had to go get her mic. And then America came back in and she was like, Jag. America. I don't understand. It's like, wow, how did it get this much more all of a sudden? But anyway, why is she sobbing? Is a good question. Whatever happened in the couple of hours that the feeds were down prior to the eviction and anything that happened after the eviction, Blue has been told the stuff about Jared. And we have to recall that Blue has been turned against Jag. She was tricked into thinking that Jag wasn't loyal to her. She was tricked into thinking America didn't want to work with her. And she was very much all in with Jared, Cirie, and Izzy, and was ratting them out at every opportunity, to the point where she was going to nominate and target Jag next week. And she has now been informed that they were all lies. That Jag was never against Blue, that America was never, that she was being played against her friends. She was being isolated, as she says, that Jared was isolating her. And she feels like an idiot because what has she been doing in this whole season at this point? And I'm like, exactly. What have you been doing in the season at this point, Blue? Thank you for realizing it. But not for realizing that she's an idiot, but for realizing that you need to do something different. So she then just basically info dumps everything she knows about Jared, except for the mom thing. But everything that Jared has said to her about Jag, he was targeting you, Jag, last week. He has told me that you're flaky, that I shouldn't associate myself with you. He's been like everything that he's ever said about Jag, everything that he's ever said about America. She's dumping it all on them. She's talking about Matt, and she says to Matt how he feels like Matt is easy to trick because he's slow to understand things sometimes. And all kinds of stuff that everything Jared has ever said, basically, except for the mom thing. And she's pissed at Jared. He's tried to isolate me from my friends. She says straight up to Jag, I was planning to nominate you next week. I was going to do it. And Jag's like, well, we probably would have talked and figured this out before then. She says, no, I was going to blindside you.
Yeah, and I had a whole speech ready. She had a whole speech ready.
She's like, I was gonna turn the key. It would have been Bowie, and then I was gonna turn the other key, and I was gonna be like, Jag, you're the biggest liar in this house. And I'm like, why are you going into so much detail about this? It's so unnecessary.
You didn't do it, so you don't need to speak on it. But I think for her, it was this crowning achievement of, this is how much I was about to do it. This is how much I had thought into it. And I think because she had put all that thought into it, Taran, she couldn't let it go to waste. Someone has to know. Might as well be Jag, I guess.
Yeah. And so she tells Jag, she tells Matt, she even tells a lot of it to America when America's in there. And she says, I'm against them now. I don't want to work with them, but I do need to confront Jared about some of this stuff. And I need to show face and act this week. But don't worry, next week I'm gunning for him with everyone else. And many people in the audience were confused. What is real here? I believe this is real. I mean, she's dumping everything. I think she's genuinely pissed. However, this happens, like if she's telling me she's going to target Jared next week, it's like, okay, call me next week. See how you feel. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, the people, they have rough patches, they make up, they're fine. A week is a long time, especially if you're faking the sauce, like maybe you get back in the sauce. So you never really know where it's going to go. But I feel like Blue has always romanticized the, I'm going to be the one to get him out. For whatever reason, she's been saying this from the beginning. And this week, more than other weeks, I buy it. But again, we got to get to next week. Also, we know it's a double eviction next week. In the heat of the moment, are you really going to do it? Or does she have a whole speech and play plan she needs to do before that is allowed? So I think you wait and see. But I think her intentions at the moment are that she would do it.
Yes, I believe that she feels like she would right now. But we've seen this literally from her before. And then she went back. So, I mean, the situation with Blue is that basically, like, she was over here. She was like way too far over here. Like believing Jared in a terrible position to win the game, in a terrible position in general, ratting out her friends, taking out her only allies and assets, undeniably playing terribly. She's realized that she was playing terribly and that she's been tricked. And so she's like, okay, you've realized it. Now you're here. You're in the sweet spot. This is perfect. Now you're in a spot to play the middle if you want. But where are
Kept
you going?
walking.
Wait, what? Wait, stop. What are you? Wait, where are you? Why? I want to take Jared out. You don't need to take Jared out. What do you mean?
You can know.
Why would that be your plan?
Right. Yeah, it's and listen, I know there's some people still doubtful, and I talked earlier about the scars of weeks past, Taran. You and I were sitting here talking about that one faithful night when Jag and Blue woke up and suddenly had plans, and it was a Jared run HOH, and we said just sit on your hand. Maybe I'm stupid. This feels different. This does feel different. This feels a lot more serious than 2 weeks ago. So I just want to put that out there. But we've been fooled before. But I trust, I feel better about it this time.
Here's the thing. I don't believe that she will target Jared. I think she believes that she might right now, but I don't believe that she will next week. And I think that's a good thing for her game. I don't think she should. I think that she should absolutely just continue to play with Jared and Suri and them. And then next week she should target, like, I don't know, Mimi or something. Like, actually that would be a very good play for her, but don't tell her. Or maybe like Corey in America if Cam is gone, or whoever else, you know what I mean? But Blue, this is an opportunity for Blue in the same way that it was an opportunity for Mimi when she was approached by this stuff. And Mimi is now playing both sides. She's now in there in the comic room with Jared and them, and she's hanging out. And this is exactly what Mimi needed to do. I think Blue should be doing the same thing. I think that puts Blue into a very good position now that her eyes have been opened to how she was being played by them before. And that gives her an opportunity to actually make some moves moving forward. So that's kind of where Blue is. I had to give a Blue update. Jag wants to know, all right, what do we do this week? How do we operate moving forward? He discusses the plan with Matt and Blue. And his plan to survive the week is that he wants to, they all saw what happened, except, well, Blue didn't, but him and Matt saw what happened in the have not room. It's very obvious to them that Jared is a liar. Can't be trusted. He's got to go. Very obvious to them that Corey was telling the truth. They fully believe and trust Corey. But they can't let Jared know that. Because if Jared realizes that Corey, America, Matt, Jag, and maybe even Blue now are working together still and believe each other and trust each other, then why would he bother targeting Cam? Cam being targeted is the goal here. So from Jag's perspective, he wants to convince Jared that they believe him and that they don't believe Corey. That way, they can act like they're still with Jared, still against Corey. That group is still split up, not a threat. Cam is still the biggest threat to Jared's game. And they talk about the various ways in which they want to go about that. There's a specific thing that Jag wants to focus on in Corey's story about how Corey said that he knew about 7 Deadly Sins 3 weeks ago. And then he said that he told America like a day ago, but then America said that she knew however long ago. And so basically what that tells Jag, the story is that he doesn't believe Corey when Corey says Jared exposed the 7 Deadly Sins. He thinks that Corey was trying to trick him into thinking Jared spilled it, when in reality, Izzy is the culprit. Izzy's the one that told America. Izzy was the only one that told Corey, and Corey's just trying to pass that blame on to Jared. This is the story, the fake story that Jag is coming up with. And that because Izzy's already out, they can just blame Izzy as the scapegoat. And that's the reason why they flipped on Izzy, because she was leaking stuff, because they're loyal to the 7 Deadly Sins. They believe Jared, and they are still loyal to the 7 Deadly Sins, now the 6 Deadly Sins. And they want to continue to work with them moving forward. If that's the case, then hopefully, Corey and maybe America go up on the block for a backdoor on Cameron. They can take out Cameron, reunite with Corey and America, and go after Jared again next week. That's the plan.
My boy's all grown up. Look
it's not. I know people were kind of poo-pooing the plan because it sounds a little complicated, but it's not a bad plan.
If it works, it's great. It's absolutely great. And also, there's enough layer to it that I think you can get something out of it. And getting on the same page, getting ahead of it is also a good way to go. But also the bar's in hell with Jag. So this is phenomenal. This is a masterpiece.
The biggest problem with the plan that I think Jag still hasn't quite fully realized is that even if he does trick Jared into believing that he believes Jared, that just puts him back in the spot he was, where they still had wanted to target him because he was in the seven deadly. Like, he still thinks that the like facade of the seven deadly sins might keep him safe, but he was already in the seven deadly sins and they were already targeting him. I think he needs to like reconcile that in his mind. I mean, it's still better than nothing, and he's right that they need to separate from Corey. But I think he overestimates his ability to avoid the block based on his quote unquote loyalty to the seven deadly sins. But it's still, again, like, there's not much else he can do here. I think that this is a correct play for him, both in the sense that it helps Jared target Cam, and also in the sense that it might help get Corey and America on the block rather than him.
Yeah, because little does he know at the time. Actually, he kind of knew that he's one of the shortlist numbers probably to
Corey
maybe be in
him.
trouble. Yeah,
but I don't know how much he believes, because again, I think like he's still reconciling just how much of a target he was for them on the other side. So that's Jag's plan. Then we have something very serious to talk about. There was a rule infraction, and a player was actually ejected from the game. Josh Duhamel attacked viciously Mimi in the pantry. It was completely uncalled for, and we saw Willie Hance. There's a zero tolerance policy for violence. And for Josh Duhamel to have just fallen straight onto Mimi's head in the way that he did was just completely unacceptable. And I completely agree and support Big Brother's decision to eject him from the game. He is no longer in the house, and it's the right call.
Yeah, you headbutt a house guest, you get booted.
Yeah, I'm glad we can all agree on this and just move forward from the ugliness, because it's just a lot to deal with, you know. That kind of violent act is just it's just unacceptable, and it kind of hurts to even have to watch. So hopefully we can move on. So Jag is going to go and talk to Corey up in the have not room, and he pitches the idea of throwing Corey under the bus, pretending like he believes Jared and all of that to Corey. Corey's not a huge fan of the plan.
He said it so badly, Taran. Jag was like, I basically hate your guts and don't want to have anything to do with you. It's not easy to hear. And the way Jag goes about it is very much like, it's like the word, like, because I think Corey knows that this is the move, but also the way Jag goes about it, it's a little too much to say to someone's face. It's a little too much, I would say.
Corey's like, first of all, I don't love the plan to say that you like caught this discrepancy in the story, because that's actually not even the true story, what you're saying. I don't know if that'll work, but Jag's already got. You're not going to convince Jag to not do this. He's very proud of this plan. Corey says, listen, my plan is just going to be, I'm just going to do the generic pitch of like, obviously everyone was going after you, Jared. Good on you for winning the HOH. And Jag's like, well, just hold there. I feel like maybe don't talk about the everyone is going to backdoor him thing, because like I'm trying to pretend like I'm not going to do that. And they're clearly, I mean, they're at odds. And this is the thing. This is why Jared is in a position to like really drive a wedge between these two groups that are trying to form together against him. If Jared plays his cards right, he can absolutely get both Jag and Corey to throw each other under the bus, right? Jag is fake doing it already, which is a good plan, because fake doing it might prevent Jared from realizing that he's not real doing it. And in real doing it was the only thing that is actually going to get Corey to also real do it. But if he can get Corey to really do it, then maybe he can then go to Jag and be like, hey, Corey, or hey, Jag, Corey is saying that you're lying about this believing me and that you're still coming after me. What's up with that, Jag? And then get Jag to be like pissed at Corey, and now all of a sudden you got something cooking. And so Corey recognizes that that's a danger, and that ultimately what they want is for Cam to leave. And so Corey says, listen, I think we built something really good last night. It took a hell of a lot of effort to make it happen. And it would really suck to let one bad HOH outcome ruin what we built, because it was really good. So no matter who leaves, and obviously Cam is the goal, but even if one of us gets taken out, I really hope that the rest of us can push forward and make a strong run at this game, because I really feel like we can do something special. And I think that's a good stance to take. I think let's not let this HOH break us up. But at the same time, in the event of Jared changing his mind or Cam winning a veto, sometimes you got to pull the ripcord, Corey, and Jag. This is going to be your third opportunity, Jag, just in case. Did you pull that ripcord? But for now, it makes sense, because ostensibly, Jared might be targeting Cam, and them working together might help accelerate that process and keep themselves safe. So it doesn't behoove them to fully rat each other out quite yet. But I hope that's in their back pockets. I would hope, just in case.
I think so.
So that's what's going on over there. Then Matt talks to Blue privately while Jag is gone, and he talks about being upset about Jared's comment. Matt is extremely done with Jared, as is Blue in this moment. And we talked about is there any chance that Sari can get Matt back? Is there any chance that there can be any reconciliation there? I would say for now, no. Anything's possible, and this is the thing too. Corey in America, we can briefly talk about this. Corey in America also talked, and America talked about Cam and how she feels like, did they turn me against Cam? Did they lie to Cam in the same way they lie about Cam in the same way they lied about me? Because I enjoyed flirting with Cam, which to some people was like, oh, then she's a liar, a dirty, rotten liar. I can't believe she ever said that Cam made her feel uncomfortable. But why don't we look at this situation? Matt took offense to what Jared said to him in the comment that he made. That doesn't mean that Matt is now never allowed to ever say he enjoyed Jared's company in ever, or that he's not allowed to be friends with Jared after this, or that he can, reconcile with Jared or anything like that, because we recognize that sometimes a person can make you feel uncomfortable, and you can express those thoughts freely and then still have other feelings about that person. And it doesn't make you a liar. It doesn't make you some kind of devious harlot woman who's trying to ruin the reputation of a man. It just means that you're expressing how somebody makes you feel in that moment.
1000%. I don't need to
Anyway.
say anything else. I don't need to add to this. Taran nailed it.
Jared talks to Felicia and Mimi in the bathroom. And Jared says that his feeling right now, he wants Cam gone. He wants Cam gone. He's annoyed at Cam. Cam has been doing something that has been very upsetting for Jared. Cam has been like, oh man, had a scrimmage up there. Did you? How'd the scrimmage go? And he's like, and Jared's like, why are you asking Bowie? Why aren't you asking me? Because you know. You're not supposed to ask me. He really is not with Cam. He does not like Cam. He wants Cam gone. And he says that he wants Jag on the block, because if Cam doesn't go, he wants Jag to go. That's the idea that he has in his head. He says, I really would like to put up both America and Corey. I would like to, make them feel uncomfortable and, show them that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, and make them scramble. But they're just not worth it. They're not really good at the comps, and they're like, what can they do? Is if they stay, go run with Cam, I don't care. Cam is a bigger threat. Jag is a bigger threat. So his idea is Corey and Jag on the block, backdoor Cam. And more importantly, with Corey and America on the block, they're such bad competitors that if Cam does get chosen, he has a much better chance of winning. Whereas if Jag is on the block, at least Cam has to beat Jag now, as well as Jared, in order to win that veto. And that's another big reason why he wants Jag on the block. So he's thinking Jag and Corey on the block, Cam the back door. If Cam wins the veto, Jag goes. And Mimi, in this conversation, seems like she's sticking up for Corey and America, in my view, or at least is anti-Jag. She's very much like, yes, make sure that at least Jag is on the block. And yes, I would agree, Jag would definitely need to go over Corey. You know, and I think this is the right call from her as well. I mean, a very right call for her as well, if this is what she is intentionally doing. Because again, like I'm kind of feeling like Mimi might be in this right now and doing something. And so it super benefits her if like Cam leaves, obviously, but if Cam can't leave, Jag leaving is the next best thing because she still has this connection to Corey. And can still maneuver. It gives her so many different options in the game still. Whereas Jag and Matt are like less good options for end game because they're too good at comps potentially, especially physical ones. So I like this from Mimi, if this is what she's doing.
Yeah, only, Taran, only in Big Brother can having to cluck like a chicken to win a veto make you such a target that you are damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because I think one of the big things for Jared was that Jared was told he would never win the wall comp, and now he won the wall comp. And now he's like, if I beat you at the wall comp, I'll beat you in anything. So I think that's very much why, despite Corey and America being anti him, he's like, I'll deal with you later. Camera number 1, Jag 2. Was it America 3, Corey 4, or Corey 3, America 4?
I think it was Corey 3, but because I think he is looking at Corey before America at this point, which is, by the way, the only real change that occurred from this. A lot of people are like, oh, look at this. What a mistake to vote out Izzy in this way. Corey, you screwed up. And they're saying America 3. So it's not even, he hasn't even flipped, theoretically, the order.
Oh, yeah. I wrote it down. I tweeted it out too.
Yeah, there you go. There's obviously maybe a small change here. Maybe America would have been on the block next to Jag instead of Corey. Maybe Jag will be able to talk himself off the block and it will be America and Corey. And yeah, that would not be great. But you have to remember that prior to this HOH, literally just a couple days ago, Jared was saying, I want to put America and Corey on the block. He was saying, I want them both up there. And he was saying, I want Corey gone before America. And he was saying that he wanted Cam gone, then Corey. This hasn't really changed anything. And Jared was always going to win this HOH. And he was always going to make these almost same noms with the intent to backdoor Cam. And he hasn't even changed the idea to backdoor Cam. Nothing has changed except you have taken out like a big piece of their power. And if Jared hadn't won this HOH, they would have been in a really golden spot. And even if he had, and even now that he has, if the plan goes through and Cam leaves, they're still in a really good spot compared to where they were before with Izzy gone. Like, I think very clearly the move was the right move. They just got the worst possible draw. And even then, it doesn't change a whole lot from where things were before.
Yeah, the Cameron buffer genuinely does help, and the Cameron target does help quite a bit as well. What I'm looking forward to, Taran, is Jared said that if Cameron doesn't get the veto draw, if Cameron doesn't get pulled for the veto, he's going to be like, that's your ass, like you're gone. So I want that confrontation. I kind of want that confrontation between Jared and Cameron. I think that would be fun. As long as it doesn't get ugly, I'm fine with it happening. I'm an advocate for chaos.
Corey was getting into a little bit of an argument with Cam about his class act comment. Corey kind of sticking up for Izzy a little bit. And Cam was defending. No, it wasn't classic. I was right to say it. And Corey talks to America basically about this whole thing. He's like, I do think it was the right move. I think if anybody other than Jared had won, we would have been golden. We'd been in a great spot. Corey's biggest concern right now is that he really thought it would be jury. And it's not jury. and that means that that they might not make jury together. They might be separated for 2 months. That sucks for them. There's also a funny moment where Jared comes out for the HOH room reveal, and America's like, "Oh, you're gonna see more pictures of his stupid dogs." And Corey's like, "Hey, his dogs are adorable. I'm not hearing any of that."
Yeah, the advocate for the dogs there with Corey. Taran, can I ask you a question about moving forward metas real quick?
Sure.
Next season's meta, for example. Now, obviously, we got the announcement last night that we're going back to a 7-person jury for this season. And Corey visibly kind of maybe thought that jury will begin tonight, and it didn't begin, or like soon. My question is, with this movement of the goalpost with the juries, do you think blindsides are going to be even less likely moving forward because people don't know when or how they're going to be stuck with people in jury, or when they're going to have to, they've got the jury safety net or not? Because already we're not getting them blindsides, but I feel like even more now, I would probably expect not to see them in the future.
I mean, I think the longer you wait until jury, if 7-person juries become a thing in the future, I think that that's only a good thing. I think the longer we wait before jury, the better. We get more aggressive gameplay. If you surprise people with a 9-person jury, then they're going to get worried. But the other way around, I think, is like, I think we might have some extra space. So I like that. Speaking of the jury, I was thinking, like, if I'm Corey or Jag or anybody that could be in danger this week, my pitch to Jared, I would consider a pitch to Jared that was something along the lines of like, listen, we're not in jury yet. It's a 7-person jury. I obviously betrayed you. There's no getting around that. And you beat me. Like you got me. My life is in your hands right now. And offer all the regular stuff. We can work together again moving forward, whatever. But also, like, and here's what else I'll tell you. If I make the jury, I will pledge to you my vote. I will pledge my vote to you in the jury. A 7-person jury means that every vote counts a lot more. And having a guaranteed vote on the jury, because listen, I'm a game player. I care about the game, and I respect the hell out of your game. I mean, I tried to turn it against you, and I couldn't. And so now my life is in your hands, and like pen or before me, I will offer you my jury vote if I make the jury, and I will campaign for you on that jury as well. And with a 7-person jury, that matters a lot. That's what I would pitch, because I think that Jared is the kind of guy that might kind of work on, especially if he's like, I'm going to get there with my mother and beat her. I'm going to need some jury votes to do that. It's possible.
It's a bargaining chip to use. Why not?
Yeah. It's just another like thing with 7-person juries mean that each vote is more valuable. In general, like I think the average vote split is that there's like 2 dissenting votes. Whether it's a 9-person jury or a 7-person jury, there's usually 2 people on average that vote the other way. But on a 9-person jury, that means that it's a 7-2 vote. The gap between that number is way too big to overcome. There's no way that the other person has any chance of catching up in those votes with only 2 out of 9. But 2 out of 7 means that you just need 1 person to make it a 3-4 vote, or 2 people to flip the entire thing.
To win.
And so each individual vote is so important. And if that individual vote comes with maybe a little bit of convincing of another person, like maybe Corey and America are on the jury and they're both leaning in a certain direction, 2 votes out of 7 is massive. So don't underestimate the difference between the 9 and the 7-person jury for not just how the end game will work for the jury vote, but also for how you can use that if you are playing the game, and how you can use it as leverage. Don't threaten your vote, though. Never works.
Leverage it, don't threaten it.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Anyway, Jared's gonna go and talk to Matt, and Matt goes along with the plan, pretending he feels like he got played by Corey. He believes Jared. They can work together moving forward. Matt says that like moving forward, what he would do is he'd probably put Corey and America up with a Cam backdoor. He thinks that's a good play. And Jared is like, but do I keep Jag around? Like, can I trust Jag? And Matt says, I think you could trust Jag. Like, I think he'd be after Corey in America next. He doesn't believe them. And Jared says, I'll just ask him. But like, do you think I'm safe with Jag? And Matt says, for now, I think you are. I think you are. So they're starting to do that work. Jared's going to talk to Jag, and same conversation, basically. Jag goes along with I mean, not the best sell from Jag, but you know, it's all right. Jared comes in and Jag says, and he's like, how you feeling? And Jag says, well, here's how I'm feeling. Corey's story didn't match exactly with America's because of the 3-week gap that America said. And it's like, this was very clearly rehearsed. But he goes on, he says he doesn't believe Corey's story. Jared says, I don't really want to get into that. Jag's like, okay. Jared says, what I want to know from you is how you feel about the remaining 6. And he says, I feel like Izzy is the one that sold us out. Now that Izzy's gone, we can move forward together as a group. Jared says, we just have to be solid, bro. And so this is the beginning of Jag trying to essentially get himself off the block and potentially save himself, and while simultaneously trying to make sure that Cam is the intended target. How well it worked, we'll have to wait and see. I think the biggest thing working against Jag is that they're going to want him on the block to prevent Cam from winning the veto. And then he's on the block. And that's not great.
Yeah, it really, again, that one veto win where if he hadn't won, he would have been in trouble is what's doing him in here, because no one else has won anything. So he looks like he's got something. So yeah, I think obviously Corey's on the block no matter what. The second spot will be Jag or America. Now let's see if Jag talks to him again today. If Matt talks to him again today, maybe that changes. But just based on the language he was using, Taran, it always felt like Jag was going to go up no matter what to me. So I don't know if that's going to be, there's going to be a lot of budging to do there.
And here's the thing. From Jared's perspective here, he's HOH. The target could really be anyone. They're all coming after him. Cam is after him and probably the biggest comp threat. Corey and America are after him and they're well connected. Jag and Matt are after him and they're probably the next biggest comp threat, but they're also 2 comp threats together. And so any of them leaving is good for Jared. It doesn't really matter which one he targets. I don't think Cam is a bad target for him, considering he's probably the biggest comp threat, but he's also probably the person he's most capable of actually pulling in, because he's the person least personally offended by what Jared has done. Although he does still hold a lot of grievance against about the red thing. But he also doesn't have as many options as the others do, because he's not as connected to them. And so there's a valid reason for why Cam could stay, but I think Cam leaving is also a very good move for Jared, in the same way that almost anybody of those people leaving would be a good move for Jared. The real key for a Jared HOH is to do what we were talking about before and help break this new group up by forcing them to rat each other out, throw each other under the bus, in an attempt to be the ones to save themselves in the event that Cam doesn't go. And with that in mind, I don't think that he should be letting them know that Cam is the backdoor target quite yet. Just like keep that a little bit cagey for now. Like, I've got some thoughts, but I'm thinking, I want to know from you how you feel. Make them feel like they might need to throw their allies under the bus. Not to just pointlessly make them feel uncomfortable and scramble for no reason, but just to get in some information out of them, and then eventually calm them down and let them know Cam is the plan, so that they feel like that they're okay. But ideally, you get as much information as possible. He needs to know that Jag and Matt don't believe him and don't want to play with him, and then also get them to start fighting amongst themselves to maintain their own survival past this week. Because from their perspective, if I just make it past this week, things might be fine again. So that's kind of, I think, the play that Jared should be going toward. I'm not sure that that's sort of what he has in mind yet, but I wouldn't completely put it past him to get there, but we'll have to see, I think.
Yeah, and I think ultimately this is Cam's fault. Like, Cam should have been in a great spot today after all the stuff that went down yesterday. The reality is he's not. And I think rattling the cage, rattling everybody in that house last week wasn't the right move. We did see last night, he walked into the comic room and apologized to Suri. And when Suri was like, what for? He said, well, I've lost a friend, so I kind of understand how you might be feeling in this situation. When he left the room, Suri flipped off the door. Suri's so not in with him. Jared is literally hoping he doesn't get the veto chip so he can be like, well, your ass is grass. You're out of here. It's over. He even talked about wanting to like confront Cameron. Cameron's done himself no favors. Everything you highlighted, you are not wrong in. You put one from the Matt and Jag side, probably Jag. You put one from the Corey America side, Corey or America, doesn't matter. And then you let everyone think that one of them's going to go, and then they start selling each other out. Then you find a way to make your move for next week to settle in, to go with the future. But Cameron's done so much unnecessary drama last week that the two people who are in power are not messing with him on a personal. And I think that's going to get him out. That also, of course, he's won 3 comps and he like seems like a big threat or whatever.
All right. Well, we also had Blue talking to the cameras, confirming to the cameras that she wants Cam out next week so that she can win HOH and take Jared out next week. But she is going to give him an opportunity to explain himself. And that opportunity comes in the form of a long argument. That we're not going to sit through all of. We've been here for too long already. But basically, Blue expresses that she's upset that she was left out of things. That Jared had a lot more going on than she thought he did. That he led her to believe that he did. And she, it was getting out that she was ratting out America. Her relationship with America is strained now because of that. She's frustrated about that. She's frustrated about everything that, Jared has been doing and not telling her. She told him that the one thing that she cared about was that she did not want to look stupid, and she feels like she looks stupid. And Jared gives this long explanation about how everyone has alliances. They're named this, that, and whatever, and it doesn't really matter. And they were all fake anyway. And everyone has 3 final 3s and final 2s and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, what matters is that like he's with her and that she should not care about it. And she says, okay, that's enough for me. I trust you. And he says, well, I don't trust you because I'm upset with you, Blue. Because when I won HOH, you were not happy with me. You were not celebrating. The one person I expected to be celebrating with me, you were crying. You were upset. And I am not happy about that. I am upset about that. And Blue is like, I was just sad that I lost. And about like everything that had been going on. Like it's not that deep. And he's like, no, it is that deep. And I did not appreciate it. Not at all.
Yeah, I was complaining because right as they were going to talk, the cam switched to Matt eating cereal. And I thought, first of all, what is this, BB19? Then the feeds came back to this. Because again, I think everyone wanted to watch this conversation because we wanted to know, did everything Blue say downstairs stick? Or is this a facade? Obviously, we did see her talk to the cameras a little bit. That made it seem like it wasn't a facade. But we wanted to see how she plays that out here. And then I was watching just this gaslighting session. I was like, all right, I'm not doing this at 4 a.m. I need to leave here. It was frustrating to me, and here's why. Jared, and I got some pushback on the internet about this. So Jared is upset to some degree with Blue because Blue isn't just blanket happy that, hey, you're my showmans, you won, you're gonna protect me, my hero, my king, my knight in shining armor. Like, why are you not celebrating me? Because we won. If I win, we win. I think what he doesn't realize is, hey, first of all, Blue is her own person. Blue doesn't think she can win everything. This was the closest she's felt to winning. Blue hasn't seen her family. Blue hasn't gotten a letter from home. Blue hasn't got Blue snacks. I don't know what those are, but she got snacks probably she wants. Individuality can exist within a relationship. Just because my partner wins a thing doesn't mean I have to also be happy if I was close to winning. I could also try and want to win. Okay. You think if Liana won everything in this house that I wouldn't feel some type of way? That I wouldn't be like, oh, but I wish that was me for once. It happens. Stop. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think it's fine to be like, oh, I wish that you had been happier for me in that moment. But you know, as per usual, with Jared, it takes it a lot further than that, and this becomes like a whole big thing. And there's basically nothing that she can say to please him, and it gets very awkward. And she's like trying to just be like, I just wanted to win myself. I'm sorry that that happened in that moment. But what more can I say? And it's basically like nothing. And they just kind of go quiet for a minute, 2 minutes,
3 minutes,
4 minutes,
well,
staring at each other in silence.
Blue did bring up a, what are you thinking about? And then you heard nothing else for another like 3 minutes after that.
Yep. No response, just silence. And then after like 6 or 7 minutes of just sitting there, laying there in silence, I think she's called to the diary room or something.
Yeah.
And she just leaves. Walks out the door, doesn't say, neither of them say a word to each other. And after Blue leaves, Jared says, ain't easy being a winner.
Psych, it is. And then puts on his music and that's when I left. I don't know if anything else happened after that. I assume not.
They didn't come back to them. Yeah. So that's how the night ended.
It's not easy being a winner, Taran. It's not easy.
No. Yeah. You know, it's big winner energy. And that's the night. So the main points here, the initial plan is Jag, Corey, Cam is the back door. We know that they love to change their plans. We don't know if Jag's plan will be effective enough to keep him off the block and maybe get America on the block. We will have to wait and see probably how long it takes for Blue to get back in with Jared, rather than if she will. But who knows? And then that's the big thing. What will Jared's conversations today do? Will he do the thing that he should be doing and actually get these people to turn on each other, get information from them? And if not, then just what is he going to decide in terms of the nominations and who the backup target is? And will he keep on the targeting of Cam here if that is going to be the plan? So and then also, like, how much does Cirie have to say about this? I think Cirie is very much going to be right now anti-Cam, but again, they changed their minds a lot. But also, Izzy's not there anymore, so I don't know how much Izzy was like a catalyst in a lot of the flip-floppiness. Without Izzy to bounce ideas off of, I don't know. Cirie might not be as flip-floppy. It's possible.
Yeah, where do we think, because Izzy took a lot of Cirie's time in the house. Where does that time go now? Does someone else get all of Cirie's found time at this point? And who would that be?
It's Felicia was always the person, you know, other than Izzy, that she'd spend a lot of time with. But you know, I don't know if so. Felicia, by the way, is like, thank God Jared won that HOH. I was so scared. She is very seemingly in the dark about what was going down with the vote, and that she basically survived by the grace of like the other side of the house. I imagine this gets out to her at some point, but also, like, who would try to sell that to her right now when Jared's in power? You know?
Yeah.
Even Mimi would need to be careful about that, I think. So, you know, right now she's fully still on board with like, yeah, we did it. Brown Sugar Babes, Cirie and Jared, I'm in. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, she's going to be fine for a long time now. Well, I shouldn't say that, but for a decent time. I don't think Felicia's going anywhere.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you today. Quite a big update. Lots of stuff from before the eviction, and then, of course, stuff from after the eviction. We will have to wait and see what happens today. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 25 live feeds, including what will eventually happen with these nominations. Nominations are very important, not only because of the event that Cam might win the veto, but also because of how this house is operated. Being on the block means that there is going to be a discussion about voting you out, regardless of what the initial plan is. So initial noms matter a lot. So we'll have to see what happens there. I will be live with Rob for the BB Q&A in like an hour. We're going to do it a little early at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. If you want to join us live for that, you can join us live if you're not a patron. And if you are a patron, you can watch it after the fact. If you want, and also watch it live if you want. That's mostly it. You can find me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, and all that good stuff. Pooya, what do you got going on?
Well, I can be found on Twitter at Pooyaism. I'll be live tonight on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya at 10 p.m. Eastern for my weekly stream that I do on Friday nights. Also, our weekly Goose Goose Lobby will be 5 p.m. We're going back to 5 p.m. now that the episode's at 10:30. We do not need to be playing at 2 p.m., aka 11 a.m. for the West Coasters who have to be awake way too early. So we're doing that 5 p.m. And then if you're looking for podcasts, I wrapped up Traders New Zealand and Traders AU this last couple weeks. You can check those out. And I had Scally doing a double feature for 90 Day Fiancé with me this week. So check those out.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you today. Thank you all so much for joining us. And I will see all of you next time.